by after losing to Northern Illinois. That was a moot point right then and there. Be thankful that we let you in the college football playoff to begin with.
So another big topic that's come up a lot, we'll talk about this and then we'll get to a wild card and get out of here, is does college football feel different right now, specifically on Saturday? Certainly for us psychopaths that follow this every single day for 367 days a year, it feels different for us. But for the average fan, does it feel different on Saturday? I think you guys can hear this when I play it. Hopefully you can. If not, I'll still play it for the audience, and then we'll just kind of talk about our thoughts. But I want to play a quick 1-minute clip from Pate's show talking about this, and then I want to get your thoughts, and we'll move on to the wild card after this.
There's Ohio State. Let's say Michigan's in town. And let's say it's midway through the third quarter, and they're deadlocked at 17, and it's 4th and 1 on your own 38-yard line, and they're opting to go for it. Clock's ticking down, huddle breaks, 5, 4, 3, crowd's at full throat. Just pause right there. Is anybody thinking about whether Ohio State had OTA workouts? Is anybody thinking about how much the left tackle's making? You're not. So the point is, the game hasn't really been ruined at all. If that moment feels different, if that moment is ruined, then college football has ruined itself. Does Saturday still feel like Saturday in the fall? Because that's really the great barometer. So my answer is yes, Saturday still feels like Saturday. I think college football is extremely resilient. Like, it is extremely strong. It's the redwood. You could chop a redwood down, but you don't do it with 5 or 10 swings. It'd take a lot to chop down a redwood, all concentrated, all at one spot on that tree. And don't do it because you'll get arrested. But point being, it takes a lot to ruin college football. That's a byproduct of how great it is.
So without me making an Auburn tree joke after his redwood analogy, okay, I think he's got some points here. My quick takeaway is that I don't know what specific number to assign this to, but there's a large portion of college football fans that don't care that we're doing a show today, right? They're not ate up with it like we are. On a channel called College Football Addiction, that when you search it on YouTube, it says, do you need help for your any addiction problems that you have? So yeah, a lot of people, maybe 66%, maybe say 2/3 of the people in any given stadium are not as into the weeds of the offseason as we are. They show up, there's 6 or 7 Saturdays a year. They tune in the 5 or 6 other Saturdays. They watch the game, then they move on, right? They watch the NFL in January. They watch the NBA when it comes around at the end of the year. They watch the MLB during the offseason, whatever, right? I think there's a large portion of that. For them, I think it's relatively unchanged. Do they love the way that college football has moved? No, but it doesn't impact them as much. I think he makes a good point in those pressure moments of a 4th and 1 between in the game. Yes. Does it feel pretty much the same? I think it does. Where I think it has changed on Saturdays is, one, who the hell is on my roster? Who the hell are these players? Because you're not developing that 3 or 4 year love with a roster that you have limited turnover with. I do think that has changed. I also think the idea around the meaning of the games, right? We got to the end of that Alabama-Georgia game, which I was at. It was phenomenal. It was incredible. We got to the end of it and we said, that stinks for Georgia, but they'll be fine. They'll probably still win the national championship after this. We got to the end of that Michigan-Ohio State game, and it was like, this stinks for Ohio State. They can't get that monkey off their back. If they get hot, they want to fire their coach right now, but if they get hot, they'll go on and win it. And they did. We literally listened to the broadcasters in one of the greatest games I've ever seen, Georgia and Georgia Tech this year. We literally listened to the broadcasters repeatedly. I counted 8 times that I heard the broadcasters say, well, this game means a lot for Georgia Tech. It doesn't mean so much for Georgia because they're in either way, right? They're going to Atlanta next week. They'll either play their way in or they'll get in as at large, even if they lose that. When you factor those things in, I do think Saturdays feel a little bit different from that perspective. In the heat of the moment on that 4th and 1, sure, Josh is right about this. Not much different. You're not thinking about what contract dispute happened in the offseason or who held out for more money. When you literally have announcers in the game saying, this doesn't really matter for Georgia. They're in either way. But, they certainly want to win a rivalry. But this game doesn't matter. When you have Ohio State losing as a 3-touchdown favorite, I do think it's a little bit different. Do I think it's ruined? Do I think the sport's done? No, I'm still doing this show. I'm showing up every Wednesday at noon. I'm still putting out other content. I'd maybe half agree with him is kind of the way I'd take it. What do you think, Tom?
I also half agree because I know when I go to a tailgate and I crack open a beer in the fall, I'm not thinking about any of this stuff in terms of the business of it. The thing that is slowly and incrementally getting worse for me as a college football consumer, et cetera, is accessibility. And I think that's only going to continue to get worse. Is that like, yeah, can you virtually get any college football game that you want at this point in time based on the streaming platform you have? I'm like, I'm the psycho doing the quad box every single block of every single Saturday. And then Thursday, I'm watching Maction. I'm an insane person. I will do all that stuff. What was beginning to become illuminated to me this year was the playoffs, to the points that you said. Okay, games meaning something versus meaning nothing in terms of getting somewhere. And then it's the rivalries, the traditions, the history, all that stuff still exists, but it's just a little less than, feels a little bit more like the NFL. The accessibility factor. It's now these individual schools saying, like, hey, we're having a home playoff game. Here's what that costs. And then, like, a week later, there's a game, or a week and a half, or 2 weeks later, there's another game. And for instance, Penn State went from playing SMU in State College to playing Boise State in Phoenix to playing Notre Dame in Miami. And fans would love to go to be at all of these games if they can. But many coaching staffs have talked about, hey, we want our fans there because we want their support. They can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that you're dishing out for NIL and your own tickets and parking, hotels, and all these sorts of things, flights. Now it's getting to a point where I had conversations with loved ones about Penn State. I was like, hey, if they make the national title, I will go all in and I will pay for that. But I cannot afford to go to the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and possibly the national championship. Like, you got to kind of pick one, but you really hope your team makes the last one. So that's my concern overall with the sport, is just that you're slowly going to get priced out if you're not in a certain bracket of society or something like that. But yeah, like when I'm watching the games, I'm about the game, and that's my favorite part about it.
From a game perspective, no, college football has not completely changed on Saturdays. For the major conferences, for the favorites of the world, for those that are rooting for big time programs. And you root for Florida State, TJ. I'm an Alabama grad. Tom is a Penn State Nittany Lion through and through. The game is not changing for us. And in fact, it's actually probably getting a little bit better for us because of when we leave.
Well, don't speak too fast for me.
But when we leave that field on Saturday evening and a loss is on the record, Tom, Penn State, hey, James Franklin can't get the big win. He can't beat Ohio State. He can't beat Michigan. He's always going to lose those games. But hell, just win out and get 10-2. You're going to the college football playoff. Alabama, how dare you lose to Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt of all teams. How dare you think that that's okay to ever lose them? Well, yeah, in this new world of college football where 16 teams are going to make it to the postseason, just go 10-2 and you're good. But for a team like Washington State and a team like Oregon State that doesn't know where it is right now, because they're not a G5 program, but they're also not a Power 4 program, they have to overcorrect all these other little things just to make sure that they stand out in the public eye and they warrant conversation for a bid. That does change the realm of college football. And then people want to complain about how they've gone about recruiting and they've gone about the transfer portal and the type of players that they brought in. Well, they play against G5 competition, so therefore they're actually just a G5 team masquerading with no conference to really call home. It's an insult to them. And the other thing that's really changing in college football is if you're a fan of a G5 program, let's say that you're at San Diego State, and you have one of the best running backs in college football for 2 straight years, and you build a roster around him with multiple offensive linemen and a couple of defensive players that you think could absolutely put themselves in first round or top 64 conversation, and you're looking at Sean Lewis and saying, hey, this is a team that we're competing for that absolutely could make a run. Well, yeah, in the years past you could have, but nowadays what you have to worry about is, hey, your running back is now going off to Michigan on a new NIL deal, and you're just preparing him ahead of time when Michigan didn't want him coming out of high school, but now they want to offer him a little bit more money. Your defensive players are going to the Big 12 or the SEC to be depth pieces. Oh, and that defensive back that you have been hand selecting and recruiting and turning him into an all-star, well, he's now going to become a superstar at Colorado because of Deion Sanders threw him a back. Like, that's where college football has changed. Like, the sport's not going to go away, and those of us that still love and eat and breathe the sport and call it our sacred haven, we're not going to be the ones affected by it. But the ones that will be are the casual fans that only tune in during the months of August through December and are so sick and tired of watching their team be riddled through the transfer portal and NIL in the offseason that they don't really care about what the results are. The big teams aren't affected because of as long as they just go double-digit wins, they're going to be in the college football playoff. But the teams that we are absolutely enthralled with seeing. I'm a big Conference USA guy. I love Maction. I love the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated conferences in all of college athletics in every single sport. Those schools eventually are just going to have to pony up and say, we don't have the resources to keep you. I'm glad that we were able to develop you in your process. Go ahead and win a national title at Alabama at this point, because that's what we are going to see. And that's where college football has changed.
No, I don't disagree.